What is up, YouTube? This is Kyan Cannon from Arguably Georgia Sports, and we're back for the 2017 college football season, bringing you an SEC West prediction video, and our SEC East will come a little bit later. So let's get right into it.
All right, but before we do, I would like to just say that we are hoping to switch to video very soon, but in order to do so, we will need more of you to like and subscribe to us. So if you haven't done that, go ahead and do that now.
If we get 20 likes on this video, we will be doing a video next time. Okay.
Well, probably within the next 2 months.
Okay. So let's get started. So we're gonna start with Ole Miss. A lot of controversy through this year. Obviously, the sanctions. So now they can't make any bowl games or any postseason. So that's out of the picture. And Hugh Freeze getting fired just a little while ago. So let's start out. Their first game is against South Alabama. It should be easy enough. I mean, I see them taking the first 2 games.
Yeah, so South Alabama, and then UT Martin, which will be hopefully a good start. Hopefully no slip-ups there.
Then at Cal, I think that's a sleeper game right there. Cal's coming off a terrible season. Their coach just got fired, but I feel like they're kind of in the same position as Ole Miss, and it's at Cal. I'm gonna give Cal the win.
All right, so now we're going to.
Oh, and what about you?
I mean, I'm gonna take Cal too. I think Ole Miss coming off a tough season, lose their coach. I mean, that's gonna be a difficult game for them. Then they have their bye week, and then Alabama.
Almost maybe the rest of the year after that Cal game. I don't think they might not win again until UL Lafayette. Honestly.
Yeah, that
They might have a chance against Vandy. That's it.
Yeah, so their next game is Alabama. Obviously, going to give that to Alabama.
But I mean, Ole Miss has been Alabama's kryptonite. Just saying. Last 3 years, they should have beaten them last year, and then they beat them the previous 2 years.
Yeah, but I mean, I just can't give it to them. And then Auburn. Okay, so this is an interesting one because you never know how Auburn's gonna turn out.
Well, recently, I don't think Gus Malzahn is a very good coach. I think this is a hot seat year for him. We'll get into that later. But I do think that Auburn will win this at Auburn, as Ole Miss being like they are.
Yeah, I would agree with Auburn winning this game. And then Vanderbilt. This is a good one.
I think this is going to be a very competitive game. This might be the only game they can win.
It's going to be by definitely just a few points spread. I'm going to give this one to Ole Miss.
I'm going to give this one to Vanderbilt. I feel like Derek Mason of Vanderbilt is a great coach, kind of similar to the last coach they had, who left to Penn State. And then Kyle Shermer. I think he's a good quarterback with a lot of potential. I think this could be a breakout year for Vandy where they win 8 games, maybe contend for the East. Well, not like fully, but like till like the last 4 weeks of the season.
Derek Mason definitely inherited a tough position at Vanderbilt. All right, their next game's at LSU, and I think this is really going to be a strong year for LSU. We'll get into that later, but I definitely go with LSU here.
I don't think LSU's going to have, once again, I'll talk about more later, but I don't think LSU's going to have as great of a year this year as they will next year. But I still think LSU will wallop Ole Miss at Ole Miss.
All right, our next game's against Arkansas, an interesting team because they had a little bit of a tough year last year,
They
but
had a wonderful start and just fell down, just crashed as soon as they played Alabama.
But I definitely think that Arkansas is going to have a better year. They have a great coach, Brett Bielema, and I think they're going to win this game.
This is a bit of a hot seat year for Brett Bielema. Not too much. I think next year, if they disappoint this year, it'll really turn on.
I completely disagree.
Wow, okay. That's interesting. But then at Kentucky, I think that they lose this game too. I think Kentucky is capable. I think Kentucky's what they are. I think we know what we have in Mark Stoops. I think he's a 6-6 to 8-4 coach on a great year. That's my prediction.
All right. I would go with that too. UL Lafayette. I'm giving this to Ole Miss.
I think it's Ole Miss again. Yep.
Texas A&M. This is an interesting one because A&M also had a very difficult year, but they had
They
some
had a
bright
great
points.
start. They had a very great start.
Them and Arkansas, they had some bright spots. So
Especially after they beat Tennessee.
that was peak
hot-
performance.
They were number 4 in the country. Then they just crashed against Mississippi State.
I'm giving this one to A&M.
Same. And then against Mississippi State, a rivalry game. I think anything can happen in a rivalry game. I think that Ole Miss, since I think Mississippi State will have more to play for, maybe for a bowl game, I think that Ole Miss will come out with a lot more passion, and I think they will win this rivalry.
All right, now we're going to move on to.
Wait, what's your prediction?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'd give this one to Ole Miss, actually.
And then we're moving on to, I believe, A&M.
Yes, this is Texas A&M. Very interesting year for them last year. Obviously, we just talked about they went all the way up to number 4 and then just crashed. So it'll be interesting to see what they're like.
Kevin Sumlin hot seat. Just saying it.
I would say definitely. But if they have a good year, then I think what they need is an 8-4 or 9-3 year.
Okay. Their first game against UCLA, who they played last year and won in overtime after the crazy comeback by UCLA in the last 5 minutes. This is at UCLA. It's on a Sunday. I think UCLA had a down year last year. It was terrible. They lost Josh Rosen, an All-American capable quarterback, top recruit, and now I think that UCLA wins this as Texas A&M is trending downwards.
See, I think this is a tough pick because if you look at it, if you choose Texas A&M to win this game, you're basically saying that they're going to have a good season because UCLA is one of the better teams that they're going to be facing. I'm giving this one to UCLA. I think A&M's going to have a down year.
And then a familiar face, Nicholls State, making an appearance in the SEC schedule again. They contended with Georgia last year very closely. It was only a 2-point game.
I think it was 1 point.
2 points is 26-24. I think A&M wins this though. It's at home. Maybe Nicholls State can be competitive again, but yeah.
I would definitely give it to A&M. Nicholls State's performance against Georgia was on a very, very much a down year, and I think they don't. I think that A&M is definitely gonna win this.
And then UL Lafayette, the A&M will win this game. And then the game at Arkansas. It's listed at Arkansas, but it's in Texas. It's not at Texas A&M. It's in Arlington. But so I would call this a home game for A&M. I think that Arkansas wins this though by a small margin. I think this will be a good game. This will be one of the better games in the West.
I'm gonna give this to Arkansas because, again, I'm gonna say that I have a lot of faith in Brett Bielema, and I think that they're gonna have a strong year this year.
And then South Carolina. South Carolina at going into Texas A&M. I think if South Carolina wants to prove themselves, and as they're they're very optimistic, like we were talking about, but
this is their chance.
This is where they gotta win. This is a big game for them. Then so I'm gonna go with A&M in this one.
I'd have to go with them too. I don't think South Carolina's they're just not strong anywhere really.
And then Alabama at home. Let's be real. A&M has no chance unless they get another Johnny Football and throw back 3 years. But that's not going to happen. I'm going with Alabama. Easy.
Yeah, me too. And then Florida.
At Florida.
I've got to give this one to Florida. I mean, I think it will be a competitive game, though. I think A&M's actually going to show up at this game after Alabama. They're going to make a few corrections. But it really just depends. This game largely depends on how well they do against Alabama. Because if they play well against Alabama and have a good game and don't get completely obliterated, then they might stand a chance against Florida.
I agree. I think the Alabama game is very important to this game. But I will go with Florida and say that they win. They pull away in the fourth quarter. But I think it could definitely be competitive.
Yeah, I'm going with Florida too. It'll be an interesting game to watch though. Next,
the bye week.
Yes, the bye week, and right before Mississippi State. See, this is the tricky part because I don't know what Mississippi State is going to look like. I've got to give it. I'm giving it to A&M.
I'm going to go with the upset and say Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State is turning back upwards again. believe it or not. And well, we don't know anything. They had a down year last year, but they beat A&M last year. Huge upset. I think they win again this year.
All right, our next game is going to be Auburn.
And they gotta wish they had that bye week before Bama and Florida.
Yeah, that would have been, either Bama or Florida. Their next game is right to Auburn, and another team that I'm unsure of in the West.
I'm gonna go with Auburn.
I'm it's tough. I think I'm gonna go with A&M on this one actually. Auburn had a rough year, and them and Tennessee are always ranked pretty highly to begin with, but they usually disappoint, except for a couple occasions. I think this is going to be one of those times where they disappoint. I don't think Auburn's going to have a great year.
I think this is going to be late in the season. Gus Malzahn's going to have to win this game to keep his job, and I think he is. I think he's going to come through. Then against New Mexico, they should win that easily. I think you think the same.
Yeah, no.
At Ole Miss, like we already talked about, I picked A&M, I believe.
I believe I picked A&M also. Tell us in the comments if we're wrong.
I doubt it. Then at LSU, I don't think they stand a chance at LSU.
Yeah, again, I think LSU with Ed Orgeron is going to be huge this year. I think they're going to be one of the major contenders in the West.
In a rivalry game.
Mississippi State is next. Their first game is against Charleston Southern. I say they win this one. I bet you don't disagree.
Charleston Southern played Georgia a few years ago. That's one of the only reasons I know them.
Then their next game is Louisiana Tech.
They should win that one, even though it's on the road. That might be a sleeper game. Who knows?
Yeah, they should probably win that one. It might be a little bit too close for comfort, though. Their next game is going to be against LSU. I say they get walloped.
I say they lose 2, and then at Georgia, I think Georgia wins this game. Fairly easily,
I would
especially
say so.
At home. But I mean,
they
they lost to Vandy at home.
It may be a dangerous game for Georgia. It really just depends on if their returning players are all the hype is for.
Well, we'll talk about them next video. Auburn at Auburn. We'll talk about them after this, but I think I don't think they can win at Auburn. I think it's a good atmosphere at Auburn, no matter how they're doing. I think Auburn wins this game.
I'm gonna give it to Auburn too, and then they have their bye week before BYU, which is actually a dangerous game. I'm gonna pick BYU in this one.
I think Mississippi State's gonna be at home. BYU has won some games, but I think they're trending downwards. Obviously, with them being a Mormon school, they're very experienced. They have a lot of older guys on the team. Kentucky. After that, I said Mississippi State beats BYU. Sorry about that. Then Kentucky. I think that this is gonna be a great game. I think I might go with Kentucky.
I can't do that. I'm going with Mississippi State in this one. I just don't think Kentucky's good enough. They're usually 6-6 or sometimes worse. So we'll see.
And then against at Texas A&M, we already talked about this, and I picked the upset.
I picked A&M on this one. Then they're gonna play UMass.
I think UMass is okay. So in Lindsay's sports ranking of all 130 teams, UMass was number 130. So yeah, I think should be an easy win for anybody.
I agree. And then they play Alabama. Then they play Alabama, and I mean, what are we gonna say here? Obviously, it's gonna go to Alabama, and then a tough game at Arkansas. I'm giving this to Arkansas.
I'm going with Arkansas too. I think Arkansas still has a lot of potential, and I think Brett Bielema will pull this one out. Then against Ole Miss, we already talked about this. I'm going with Ole Miss.
And I did that too. Now we're going to move on to Auburn.
Okay, Auburn, very unpredictable this year. It seems like every year they have some new player who's going to step in at quarterback. Ever since Cam Newton, really, and just win the Heisman, but nothing ever happens. So We'll see.
In the last couple years they've had a struggle completing passes. In the game against Georgia last year, they didn't complete a pass until the third quarter. So that is
Got a first down in like the second half or the first half.
yeah, I don't think they got one in the first half either. So that was definitely a down game for them. So it'll be interesting to see what they're like this year. The first game is against Georgia Southern.
Who has been
They had not a terrible season last year,
the season before they were 11-3 something. They were a good team.
and I don't know. This is tough because I think
Auburn.
I might go with the upset here,
Wow.
just because I think Auburn's gonna be a little low, and they'll get better as the season progresses. I think they're gonna start off on the wrong foot.
Then at Clemson, let's be honest, it's not gonna happen. Auburn fans, I mean, they're gonna be very optimistic about this game. They almost did it last year. Clemson's losing a lot of players this year, but I still don't see.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Then they're gonna play Mercer.
Which is a local school here, and I think they're gonna beat Mercer. Mercer played Tech last year, and they lost like 35-7.
I agree. And then they're playing Missouri, which will be interesting to see because
I think Missouri is the worst team in the SEC this year, without a doubt. I think Auburn takes this one.
Yep. I agree now. Okay, we'll see. Mississippi State is as we said. I think I picked Mississippi State on this one.
I believe I picked Auburn. I still think Auburn's gonna win this game. So that gets them started off 4-1. That's not bad. And then Ole Miss, I had Auburn winning again.
Yeah, so it's that's not a bad start for 5-1 or 5-2 in my case. If they do so.
4-2, yeah.
Now next game.
At LSU, I think they lose to LSU. I mean, it could be a sleeper game for LSU. It could be one that they might not look at the schedule that much. But I think this will be a competitive game. But I think LSU will win.
I don't think so. I think LSU definitely is gonna win. I don't think there's any chance of Auburn winning this. Their next game is at Arkansas. Again, a very strong team. I'm gonna have to go with Arkansas.
I'm gonna go with Arkansas too. Once again, Auburn is so unpredictable. We just don't know what we're gonna go with them.
Yeah, and this year we're both obviously picking them not to be as good.
And then a needed bye week after what I say is 2 losses, and then before 2 tough games. They're playing first at Texas A&M.
Which
I think that Texas A&M.
I think
wins.
we both picked A&M on this one. Again, if we're wrong, tell us in the comments. And then we're playing
And then
Georgia.
Georgia, and I think
I'm
Georgia wins this
picking
game.
Georgia for this one also.
Even
and
though
then-
it's at Auburn and it was close last year, I think Georgia wins. Well, I mean, Georgia's unpredictable too this year. We'll
Yeah,
see.
Georgia's also unpredictable this year. They're either gonna have a great year or a bad one. So we'll see.
Louisiana Monroe. That should be an easy win. And then against Alabama in the Iron Bowl. I mean, it's the Iron Bowl. It could be competitive.
It's a rivalry
think-
game, but let's be honest here.
It's not gonna
This is
happen.
Alabama. It is not happening. We're not gonna have another kick 6 here. All right. Now we're gonna move on to Arkansas, and
Playing.
they're obviously they had a tough year last year.
Started well though.
Yeah, and their bowl game was devastating. They were up 24-0 in the first half, and then they just lost it.
Starting with Florida A&M. I think they win this easily. And then against TCU, who a few years ago I think they would lose big, but now TCU's not as good, and I think they lose again.
I would agree. I think they win those first 2 games. Then they have their bye week before A&M. I think we both picked Arkansas to win that one. Then New Mexico State. So I'm going with Arkansas on that one.
Okay, so yeah, I say Arkansas wins that one again. And then at South Carolina. This will be an interesting game
I
at
don't-
South Carolina.
I don't think so. I don't think South
You
Carolina.
know what? I see
stands a
the upset.
But
I
now.
see it happening. I think South Carolina wins this game.
Oh no, you did not.
Yes, I did.
Oh, okay. So now, if you're looking at it through the way I see it, they win against Florida A&M, TCU, then A&M, New Mexico State, and South Carolina. That would be 5-0, and they are off to a really good start. And then with lots of momentum going to Alabama, but
They're not gonna beat
I
out
think
Alabama.
they're gonna lose at
been
Alabama
competitive.
there.
It's not gonna happen.
I think they're gonna lose at Alabama there, and then they're gonna have to pick themselves up and see how they do in the rest of the season, because that will be interesting.
I think they're gonna beat Auburn, like we already said, and then they're going to win at Ole Miss.
Yep.
And then
So then that would put them at 7-1.
and then they go against the newest Division I team, Coastal Carolina, who had a lot of success in the FCS. I know because I followed them for a little while, believe it or not. So I think they win this game still, though.
Yeah, definitely. Now comes probably the toughest pick that I'm gonna have today, and that's Arkansas at LSU.
And I'm going to go with LSU. I think LSU is going to be. I don't know if we would call them a surprise team, but they're gonna be the team.
Yeah,
pull it
see, I don't even know because they're my second pick after Alabama, both of them. So honestly, it just depends. I'm gonna say since wait, where were you again? Okay, so yeah, since they just came. Sorry, since they just came off of a game from Coastal Carolina, I don't think they're quite going to be ready for the tough team of LSU. I'm going to have to go with LSU, but a very close game.
I think it also could be a momentum booster, the win over Carolina. Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, definitely could.
And then Mississippi State, I think we both said that Arkansas would win this game. And then Missouri, who once again I think is the worst team in the SEC, is going to lose that game by a large margin, even though they pulled off an upset last year. That gets us down to the last two teams of the West, LSU and Alabama.
All right, so
To go with LSU.
LSU starts out with a fresh new team, Ed Ogeron. They lost Fournette, right? They lost Leonard Fournette
To the draft.
And so they have a brand new coach who's been with them for half a season. So it'll be interesting to
He's
see.
also been defensive coordinator.
Yes, he has, but he's head coach for that long, and it'll be interesting to see how they adapt to the new coach.
The players love him, from what I've heard. So I think it'll work
And
out.
so do the fans. I think they're gonna have a great start of the year. So they're starting out playing BYU. I'm gonna give them a win there.
Yeah, I think they win their first. I think they win their first 5 games, honestly.
Okay, so their second game is Chattanooga. I agree that they win that, and Mississippi State, and Syracuse, and then Troy. Okay, so their next game is at Florida.
That's a huge game.
And I am going to pick LSU.
I'm going to pick Florida after.
Of course you will.
But no, but
Of course
but
you will.
Florida. Listen, last year they played at LSU, and who won? Florida.
Last year they were just starting
And I
out
think
with
if
Ed
Florida,
Ogeron,
believe it or
and
not,
Florida won by 1
I
yard.
think people are counting down. I think people are overlooking Florida this year because they're saying they're not going to be as good. Why? I don't understand it. And I think that the swap is a very hostile environment. I don't think that LSU can win that game.
I completely disagree. Florida just barely won by the slimmest margin, and I don't think they can do it again. So their next game is at Auburn, and I'm giving LSU the win here, obviously. And then their next one at Ole Miss, and I'm giving them a win again.
And then an
Then,
important bye
very
week.
fortunate bye week right before Alabama. Now this may be Alabama's toughest game, or one of them. Obviously,
Florida
there's the
State.
Florida State game, but this may be Alabama's toughest game. I would like to see an upset here, but I just can't.
It's gonna be. I don't know about this, but I think it's gonna be an incredibly close game. It's gonna be one of the best games.
I'm gonna say that too.
It's gonna be on CBS as a special. I think we can guarantee it. Then Arkansas. I think we already.
I think we already said that.
yeah.
I said that we both said that LSU wins,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be a nail biter, and then they're playing Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. They're gonna beat Ole Miss. I can.
No, sorry. Their last game is at A&M.
Yeah, and they're going. And we both agreed that LSU is gonna win that game.
All right, and now we're going to Alabama, who is starting out, obviously, they're legendary, and they're starting out playing Florida State in the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
This is gonna be a heck of a game. I think it's going to come down to the fourth quarter, but I think Alabama is going to pull it out just barely. But I think watch out for FSU. I think there's a great chance they could be in the playoff.
So I'm gonna pick Alabama to win this game, but I am going to say Alabama will. I am almost guaranteeing you that Alabama is going to lose either the Florida State game or the LSU game.
I think that there's a better chance of them losing to Florida State because it's a new year. A lot of players are still just figuring out the system, learning everything. I think this is a good chance for Florida State to maybe pull off an upset. Then Fresno State and Colorado State should be easy games.
And then Vanderbilt too.
At Vanderbilt, no, I'm just kidding. the Vanderbilt won't win this game.
And then they're playing Ole Miss. Ole Miss, that's a win. A&M, that's a win. Arkansas, that's a win. Tennessee, definitely a win. And then their bye week right before LSU.
So the same bye weeks.
Both got a bye week right before arguably the biggest game of their season. Definitely the biggest game for LSU. Obviously there's debate at Florida State, but there we go. I go with Alabama.
Yeah, and then they have at Mississippi State, which is a win, and then at Mercer, which there's no way they're gonna win that, and I'm just kidding. Come on. Mercer, second game of the SEC, playing against an SEC team, they're gonna lose this game, and then at Auburn. Anything you want to say on that?
Again, I'm definitely going with Alabama, but it's the Iron Bowl. Anything can happen. But I don't think we're having another kick 6 year.
Yep. And then I think that's going to conclude it. Before we finish, let's just talk about some things that we didn't necessarily predict, but could be wins for team seasons. So I think a win for Alabama would be national championship. Obviously, nothing less should be expected.
Yeah, that would definitely be a win for them.
Then Arkansas, I think, would be
making the championship or beating LSU.
Yeah, contending for the championship.
And I would say that for.
Auburn, I would say 9 wins.
Yeah, I would say a 9-4 year would be good, and then for LSU definitely making it into the championship, or at least contending, which they're probably gonna do.
And then Mississippi State, I think, would be making a bowl game back again.
Yeah.
Ole Miss would be not embarrassing themselves. Let's be honest. Texas A&M.
Really anything. I mean, you don't know. So, they could be championship contenders, and then they could be barely making a bowl game, or not. So we will see.
Yeah. And my sleeper team for this year, or potential, I'm not saying there, is Mississippi State.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to conclude it. And as always, but not really as always, but now,
like and subscribe.
But now, as always, I think we're ready to be done. And goodbye.